everyone. Welcome back to This Monstrous Life with Frank Dietz. That would be me. Today is going to be another segment of the drive-in memories. So I'm going to be talking about another movie that I saw at a very impressionable age, I must add, at the drive-in. All right, so it's 1970, and my friend Christopher Plyam, Chris, I hope you're out there and get to see this. We went on a camping trip with some other people. And the camping trip was fun, especially when you're a kid. You know, going out and camping is always a lot of fun. But the highlight of that weekend was, without a doubt, when one night we went to the drive-in. And I don't remember where it was exactly. I think it was out on Long Island. So probably not Westbury, but like further east on Long Island. And the double feature that was playing that night were two Hammer horror movies. The first one was Scars of Dracula with Christopher Lee, and the second one was Horror of Frankenstein. Both of these were the latest entries in the Hammer, Frankenstein, and Dracula series, although both of them were not directly connected to the previous entries in both of those franchises. Now, previously I had seen Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, and I believe Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed. I think they were on a double bill at one point. And so I was familiar with the characters, obviously. And, you know, I'd known who Frankenstein and Dracula were going all the way back to when I was 6. So I was very excited about this. So we load up into the station wagon. We go to the drive-in, and the movie starts. And I'm going to mostly talk about Scars of Dracula, because that's the one that really got to me. So it's 1970, which means I am probably 10. My birthday is in October, so this is summertime. It means I still hadn't turned 11 yet. So very impressionable, right? And if you're familiar with the movie, you could probably see where this is going. The movie starts, and it's cool. It starts with this big scene where they try to burn down Dracula's castle, and Dracula's servant is yelling at them, saying, "No, the flames will never reach him. You know, you'll be sorry." And the very first big scene of the movie is the men returning from the castle, thinking that they had destroyed the vampire and gotten rid of the evil. And they go to the church where all their women folk were waiting for them. And they open up the doors, and these bats fly out of there. I'll get to the bats later. And they go inside, and it's just carnage in there. All the women have been just ripped to shreds by these great big giant bats. And I remember that the one woman who was I guess she's the wife of the mayor of the town or whatever, the innkeeper guy. It's always played by Michael Ripper. He goes to see her. It looks like she's fine, and then her head lobs to the side, and she's got an eyeball hanging out, and it was pretty gruesome. I got to say, I don't think I'd seen a lot of really gruesome horror movies at that point. I mean, I mostly grew up with the Universal monsters or maybe Godzilla, which were not particularly gory or sanguine. But the bigger surprise was coming up after that. So there's these two brothers, Paul, played by Christopher Matthews, and Simon, played by Dennis Waterman, who are both wooing the female lead of the movie, who is Sarah, played by Jenny Hanley. And it's Sarah's birthday, and Paul hasn't shown up for the birthday, and they do one of these cuts that you see in movies often. It's like, well, where do you think he could be? Cut to, he's in bed with another very, very pretty lady. and it's weird. It's really weird because it seems like it's morning, but it isn't. I guess it's nighttime. Anyway, he wakes up and he realizes, oh my God, I'm late for the birthday party. I gotta go. But the girl doesn't want him to go. And he drops a package out of his jacket as he's getting dressed. And it's a present, obviously. It's a present for Sarah. And she's like, what's that? Oh my gosh, that's a present for another girl, isn't it? So he runs down the stairs and she follows him. And I think for the first time ever, I saw in a movie on a big screen the bare bottom of a very pretty lady. She's just holding the sheet like this, so you see her rear end as she runs after him. And then he gets into big trouble when he gets downstairs because the Burgermeister has just arrived home, and the girl is so mad at Paul that she's just like, oh, he tried to interfere with me. And the Burgermeister, by the way, is played by Bob Todd, who anyone who watched Benny Hill back in the day would recognize him immediately. He's mostly known for this slapstick comedy, but here he is playing just an angered Burgermeister. Well, Paul splits out of there, and he makes it to the party, but then the cops come looking for him because he's in big trouble now with the Burgermeister, and so he has to escape, and he ends up getting into a carriage and falling asleep. And the carriage happens to belong to Count Dracula. So his manservant, Clove, who's played by Patrick Troughton, basically drives off with Paul, and not even knowing that Paul is in the back, right? So he ends up at Dracula's castle. Dracula meets him there, and of course it's Christopher Lee, who played Dracula, oh my gosh, 7, 8 times altogether, I think. While he's there, Dracula offers him a drink, and Paul picks up a knife that's hanging on the wall, and Dracula is like, the knife is very sharp, and anyway, Dracula invites him to just stay the night because it's very late, and he can leave in the morning, right? So Paul stays, and Dracula's girlfriend Tanya, also typical Hammer, very beautiful woman, decides that she's going to sneak into his bed. This guy gets really lucky for a horror movie guy. And so she gets in bed with him, and they fool around, and then in the morning, or again, never could tell when it's morning or night, because even the scenes outside are mostly shot day for night. She wakes up and sees him lying in the bed, and you see his throat is like, pulsating, and she all of a sudden reveals her fangs, that she is also a vampire, and she's about to bite him when suddenly Dracula pulls open the curtains and has that dagger that they were admiring earlier, and just stabs the crap out of her. Like, again, really gruesome stuff, right? And I don't know, I really honestly don't know if I was more affected by the gore, which I liked, or the pretty girls, especially the one who showed her rear end. Anyway, one thing leads to another, and eventually Simon comes looking for his brother Paul. They end up at the castle, and of course, they have to escape the castle, and Clove ends up falling in love with Sarah also. Everybody loves Sarah. And, eventually leading to a thrilling Hammer-style conclusion. Now, the scene that really, really affected me, aside from the one that, jump-started my puberty probably, is a scene where Sarah is being protected by the local priest at the old church, the rundown church where the women of the town had been slaughtered many years before. And so that's his job, is to guard her, keep her safe, while Simon goes and tries to do something back at the castle. Oh, looking for his brother, that's it. who's at that point is anyway. And suddenly, one of those gigantic bats comes into the church and starts to try to get to Sarah, but the priest, played by Michael Gwynn, who you might recognize from Village of the Damned, or if you're a Fawlty Towers fan, like me, you might know him from the very first Fawlty Towers episode where he played Lord Mulberry, who was a con artist. But one of those big giant bats comes into the church, starts to go for Sarah, and he gets in between them. And then in the scene that just bothered me for years, the bat starts scraping at his face, and he's trying to fight back, but he's weak. He can't do it, and the bat just keeps clawing at him and tearing pieces of skin off his face and biting his cheek, and it was so gruesome that when they showed this movie on the CBS late night movie, CBS was notorious for cutting the daylights out of movies, especially if there was any violence. That whole segment, once the bat gets in there, is cut from the movie, so you don't even see it, which always disappointed me because that was one of the two scenes that I would look forward to, and of course the naked, semi-naked girl would be cut also. So watching Scars of Dracula on CBS was a waste of time. For a long time, this movie was sort of disregarded just because it didn't fit into the timeline of all the other Christopher Lee Dracula movies, right? And I don't get it because I actually like this movie. I mean, obviously I had to watch it again just very recently to be able to talk about it today. And I find it to be quite good. There's a lot to like about it, honestly. It's atmospheric. A lot of people complain about the fake bats. Well, guess what? There are fake bats in all Dracula movies, up all the way up through the 70s. So that's not something that I think really stands out so much. There's a lot of gore. Christopher Lee is, as always, very proper as Dracula, but also a little different from the other movies because in this film he's quite sadistic. He kills Tanya, the woman who was sleeping with Paul, with that dagger, not even biting her neck. I mean, he's just plunging this dagger into her stomach. He kills Paul by hanging him on a meat hook. And then his own manservant, Clove, who was played by a different actor in one of the earlier films, he tortures him. If he makes a mistake, at one point he lets Sarah get away from the castle, and Dracula takes a sword, like a katana kind of sword, puts it in the fire, and then presses it against Clove's back. And we see there's all these previous scars on his back, but that's his penance for disobeying his master. And eventually, he comes to fight Dracula at the big climax of the movie. But I think that the story works pretty well. I think more so than Taste the Blood of Dracula. But this was the last one that was really set in this gothic atmosphere that, with the old castle and, the big set mantles and set pieces and so forth. And Patrick Troughton is wonderful as Clove. Like, he's got a great face. He's got this haggard look to him that he always had. Even when he played, he was the second Doctor Who in the Doctor Who series. And most people will probably know him from The Omen, where he played Father Brennan, who is the one who initially warns Gregory Peck about his son being the spawn of the devil. And he's a wonderful actor. He was also, by the way, in Jason and the Argonauts as the old blind guy that the Harpies pester and fool with. I always loved him as an actor. Thought he was just super cool. And he was in a bunch of Hammer movies, actually. He was in the